Hi, welcome back. I am just getting ready to finish off the last part of the video on using Inktense blocks with various materials and media that we tend to use in mixed media and in art journaling. So I'm going to apply it to paper towel, coffee filter, magazines, and actually I added one at the end because I realized there was yet one more use of some product I had here that I hadn't done with before. So this is for showing later once everything is dry. So a lot of the times when I'm applying the Inktense blocks to paper towel, I'm cleaning up at the end of the day, or I've sprayed onto the paper towels and done it that way. But you can do it directly, of course. So all that you need to do, again, is wet the paper towel and just draw right on it. If you don't like the lines that you may get, I find it not so much on the paper towel, you can go directly, wet it ahead of time if you're looking for a certain effect. For my purposes, this works quite well. I don't mind. There's a color combo, and you can put it on rather strongly, and you can again get more or less. When this dries, it does, and I'm not going to dry it, I kind of went ahead to show you what happens when it dries. When it dries, you lose some of that vividness, but you gain it back when you Mod Podge it onto your project. And there are two layers here, so you always get the two layers. So I would be drawing this, but I'm just going to show you the difference. So this is once it was dry. So it's kind of very matte, and you can have the different colors. It gains vibrancy when you Mod Podge it, and this is totally dry now. So you bring out those colors afterwards. So this was this one before I Mod Podged it on. It's a little bit less. And this is matte Mod Podge, and this one right here is that one. So this looks very grayish, dull, but this really made the purples and the teals pop out. So the next one is applying to a coffee filter, and I just have a piece of a coffee filter, and I'm just going to use the same colors in here. And again, the nice part of the Inktense blocks is you can use this. You can go through the effort of actually drawing something on there. I would use my pencils instead, but probably not what I would use it for, only because I am not someone who draws. I have not honed that particular skill. And getting it nice and wet, mop up, there's another paper towel in the making for my future. Now, these same colors, when you dry it with the heat gun, this is how dull it looks. So, and this is how vibrant, this is how it was when it was wet, before I dried it. This is the after. So you lose some of that vibrancy, and it looks quite dull. But again, when you Mod Podge it onto your project, those colors come out again. And I love the way the coffee filter rips, and you can layer it and you get some wonderful texture there. Now, one of the things that, especially in when I do journaling by fives, cutting out from magazines and different letters and things, and how can I use the Inktense blocks with this? So if I was doing the letters, because I do own the pencils, I would probably just do it with the pencils. You can do it with the blocks, and I'm going to do the letters here. I've done with both. So what I typically would do is just spray a little water onto a mat or onto the, you know, the craft sheet or whatever, and just wet it a little bit and change the letters, the colors of the letters to what I want to match my project. Or I could use this to outline. Let's try if we can do the outlining here of this one. And again, it's, you know, quite wide. You could try getting a sharper edge. I wasn't thinking of outlining before, but you could definitely see how that would go. Now, say you put the wrong color, a baby wipe, and it does take away some of it. Let's just see if this is permanent here. This has been heat dried, and it is not coming off. So, you know, it is far more permanent than some of the sprays and things that we use. I wouldn't necessarily rub very hard if I was putting Mod Podge or gel medium over to seal it or to bring out the color. I wouldn't go back and forth over it, but I could definitely cover it without reactivating it too terribly much. Now, if I was using the straight block here, again, wet the mat, and I would use one of my littler brushes, and I would just use it straight from the block like this, and I would paint. You can use a liner brush to outline this if you so desire. So this is something I discovered in my first batch of journaling by fives, that I could color the letters and I could change what was to what I wanted it to be. I'm just gonna, got a sharper pencil here. I'm just gonna see if I can, you know, make it quite nice, distinctly outlining it. So you can, it's not as precise as a Pitt pen or gel pen, but you can do that. So you can see how it does work on magazine paper. It does seem to be permanent once it's dry. I do recommend, if you want it to be permanent, double up on the possibility of it being permanent by heat drying it. Now, the other thing that I thought of doing before I finished my video, I looked around my room. I was putting everything away and cleaning up from the other part, and I noticed my iridescent medium here. This is just the Michaels brand Artist Loft iridescent medium. And I thought, okay, so what will happen if? So I just going to put some of this on there, and I'm going to use my grater. And I'm just doing this right on my silicone mat. And again, we've discovered you can go back and add more. Don't get all too anxious to. And with my palette knife, I'm just mixing the color. I'm gonna Oh, I actually went the right way, except it's another 12 videos and maybe I'll have it done. So I've now made iridescent medium, iridescent pearlized using my Inktense blocks. So I would be able to, let me get rid of this. Use that as I would any acrylic, and then it has that iridescent. So again, I've got 72 colors. I could do it here. I've just stenciled it through the drywall tape. I'm just going to grab a stencil here. We'll try stenciling it with this through. Now I didn't make up a whole lot, so it's just, you know, just for an example here. And so there we have it. So again, one more way, and I always love that little bit of bling on something, so I would definitely do that, because now I have 72 colors of pearlized paint. Very quick and easy to do and to mix. I'm just finishing up my video on using Inktense blocks with the different materials and mediums that we tend to use in mixed media projects and art journaling projects. I wanted to find out if the intensity of the color improved when you applied Mod Podge, as I discovered with the paper towel and the coffee filters, and it does. Quite often on the manila tag, I'm thinking, okay, it kind of doesn't, there's not that vibrancy or whatever, but when I applied the Mod Podge to this side, it did bring out the vibrancy of it, so to the point where I would recommend it. The only one that would be a complete fail here would be on the black gesso. I think there's other products that are better suited to using with the black gesso. Although that being said, I think maybe the iridescent medium with the Inktense blocks on there might work quite well. It did bring out the vibrancy right across the board. It also, I only had one application where I put the Mod Podge that it actually reactivated. Now I was very light-handed. I didn't go back and forth, but just a couple brush strokes or whatever, and it did not reactivate at all. The only time it reactivated a little bit was on the word inspire, and I did not heat set that one. So that's good to know. It is way more permanent than definitely some of the sprays that I've used. So you can kind of rest assured. I wouldn't say 100%, but you can be quite satisfied with that. One thing that occurred to me was, okay, what about if we use, we're outlining or doodling on top of that? How does it work? And I found I had to give it a try again on something that isn't Mod Podged, and so up here, it goes quite well. It doesn't seem to want to dry out the tip or the nib, and this is my Prismacolor. I've tried the pit pans as well. These are just dollar store gel pans. which I'm quite impressed with, because I don't know what brand they are, but they work quite well on the surfaces. And my white Signo Uniball Signo pen, and I'm just going to put it where I didn't put any Mod Podge. It covers quite well, and it does not reactivate. In my share of my pocket letter, several times where I had the Lindy sprays, it reactivated with it, and so the color from underneath tinted the white, which I didn't mind, but this does stay true white. So, you know, we can utilize this on a lot of our, goes on top of the modeling paste with this in there. So however you are going to use it. I'm not even in the screen. Sorry, I am, you know. Outlining. So I hope you found these videos helpful. I hope you have realized that the Inktense blocks are very versatile, very worth the money, and you don't necessarily need the gelatos and the other products. They're not identical. There are things that those products can do, and the look of them is going to be slightly different. And if you like variety, that's fine. But if you want one thing, this is one that goes the extra mile. There are lots of techniques and things you can do. It goes on pretty much all the surfaces except for the black gesso, which, you know, I'm going to play with and see if I can get it to work a little bit better. I checked on Amazon.ca. Right now, the 72 kit Canadian is $67 for the 72, which is still a good deal. I don't know that you can get it any cheaper, even with a 50% off coupon at Michael's. I definitely recommend it when I'm packing for my summer holidays and I'm taking, you know, my ATCs or whatever. I will be absolutely taking my Inktense blocks because I can do pretty much everything I want to do with them. I can get a lot of the same effects. I don't need to take my pearl paints because I can do it with this. I can, you know, lots of bang for my buck. I'm really happy that I had them. I wasn't into mixed media art journaling at the time, but as you can tell, they are very well loved. You know, they do break, and it's going to get to the part where I may have to replace some, and I don't feel bad about it because I am using them. Every time that I come down into my studio, these are out. Every time I have a play date, a create date with Yvonne, these come with. Again, when you are traveling, put the elastic band. Save yourself a mess. The pencils are big enough problem to pick up. The blocks, now that they're broken and in pieces, would be a huge mess. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Leave a comment. I do go back and read everything. It puts a smile on my face to get the comments from you and know people are learning and liking what I'm doing. I think if I've learned something and I can share that with someone, It's a big part of what I like to do. So thank you and goodbye.